Sorry from 17 once again. This is my Dark Souls 2 DLC walkthrough. This is episode 1, Crown of the Sunken King, and we are making our way down to one of the bosses of the DLC. She may not be the first one you fight, but she's the first one you're going to see me fight. And in my blind playthrough, a lot of people have been asking me what I feel about the DLC. A lot of people are really curious of my feelings towards it, and the feelings I express in the blind playthrough are all gut reactions to what is happening in that playthrough. And a lot of them have to be taken with a grain of salt, which a lot of my normal subscribers are doing exactly that. They're enjoying the difference from the walkthroughs, they're enjoying the rage, they're enjoying, you know, the fails, all that kind of good stuff. By the way, this is a hit and run tactic here. I'm going to smash all the bodies so that I can divide and conquer these enemies. You do not have to do this room to finish this DLC. What you do in this room, however, is it gives you access to a key, and the key will let you get to the Cave of the Dead, where the third and final boss of this DLC is, which you're going to see me do in the bonus video. But I did that right there so I could get rid of the Sanctum dudes, because they're really annoying when they're invisible if you don't have an elemental weapon. But the blind playthrough, a lot of the opinions in there haven't changed. A lot of them have, depending on the more I've played it. There are a couple of extenuating circumstances which may lead to me being more negative in that playthrough, but even so, I think everything I said was valid. And if you disagree with me, that's perfectly fine. At the end of the day, when you're criticising something, it's a perspective, it's an opinion, and that's exactly what it is. You know, not everyone will share it. That's the joy of them. That's why they're so different. So I'll use this video now, before we get to the boss, to give my, you know... Oh, this is really funny. That right there, when I drop down behind him, I'm so used to having the Slumbering Dragon Crest ring on and backstabbing him that I didn't think he would hear me, and he did. So that was a big mistake on my part, but luckily enough, I get the parry, and we shall be able to kill him. So I think this DLC is worth the money. I think if you really like Dark Souls 2 and you want more of it, you would be foolish not to do this. Not to pick it up, not to check it out. It's changing the meta with the items and the spells. It might not change it massively, but you would be foolish not to. Is it expensive for what it is? No, I don't think it is. For what it provides and for the amount of content it gives, I think it does exactly what it needs to do. Do I think it's better than Artorias of the Abyss? I don't. I think that DLC is one of the best DLCs I've ever played. My friend Aiden thought that DLC was a piece of shit, which just goes to show, you know, everybody has a different view on things. The reason I loved Artorias so much is not only did it give Dark Souls 3 of the best boss fights in that game, but it also gave you some really interesting lore, some really interesting weapons, an entire new genre of magic, and an area where the invasion traffic was really high. So it rejuvenated Dark Souls for me when I was a guy who got to Dark Souls late. So I will always have really fond memories of that DLC. I think the design in it was interesting. I think they did a lot of great stuff. I liked it a lot. I really did. And I think that Crown of the Sunken King pales in comparison to it. But it doesn't make it bad, folks. I just think that there are a lot of issues with Dark Souls 2 that when you're playing Dark Souls 2 and you're all up in it, you don't notice because you've grown to accommodate them and understand them. And I'm going to get chased here by Jester Thomas all the way up to activating this elevator, which I thought was pretty funny. I advise running away from this NPC unless you have a weapon to deal with him. This guy is incredibly fast, incredibly strong, and incredibly resilient to damage. However, this is new game, so he dies really quick on new game, and I'm going to show you that on the 4th video of this playthrough when I go back and kill him. But all we're doing here is activating the Dragonstone, activating this lift, and doing that. That gets rid of him. We can then go back to the torso monster area and then continue on what we were doing. There is a bonfire in this room with the large creatures, but I don't recommend going for it because it puts you in a really bad spot. They have a massive ranged AoE dark magic attack, which they all can shoot at you at any given time. When you're up close with them, they do really big damage. On New Game, they don't have too much life, which makes them very killable, but you're penalised because you're in water the entire time, and there is no rusted ring in this game, which I just don't understand it. You know, why not give us a lacking ability to roll like they did in Demon Souls? If you're going to completely ignore the improvements of a past game, what's the point? It's a handicap on the player that exists for the sole purposes of handicapping the player. Nothing else. It doesn't add to the gameplay, it doesn't add any strategy to it, it adds nothing. It just puts you at a disadvantage in a room where the enemies couldn't be worsely suited to your skills. Like, just imagine the fire cave in the Forest of the Fallen Giants with the fucking Dodongo guys, those chameleons. If you were in water, it wouldn't work, because it'd just suck, and that's pretty much what you've got in that room. I just don't really like it. A cool thing about it is they drop petrified dragon bones. However, the drop rate is questionable as well, so as much as I recommend running past them, you can get some decent resources from them. I however, will never do that, because you can always just use ascetics and things like that. But back to what I feel about this area. I think this DLC, sorry. I think the armors that they added are really nice. I would have liked more. My biggest criticism of this entire piece of content is I would have liked more, but I understand why there's less, and that's because there's going to be 3 of these guys. Artorias of the Abyss was one single contained pack of everything. This is 3, so undoubtedly we're going to get less than we would before because we're getting more of the overall packages. And I don't have an issue with that when I look at it from that perspective. But I feel if somebody picks this up with the expectations they're going to get the same as that past DLC, they will be disappointed. Over here is a secret bonfire that everybody wishes they'd found on their first run through of this area, but not many did, because this bonfire makes no sound. I don't get it. A lot of the bonfires, when you're near them, you can hear them, and even when you've not lit them, some of them make like a kind of magical sound, but this one, nothing. They just don't want you to get it. The magic that's introduced in this, I think, is kind of shitty, because all of it seems to be incredibly high requirements for not much payoff. There's a second chance spell, which I never thought I'd see. There's like a dark greatsword which fires laser beams. It's all very, derivative, I think. None of it's truly interesting, kind of lacking. I think the choice to give us new crossbows is interesting, considering that the Evelyn is universally hated, and it's been completely nerfed, so the new crossbows could replace that in the power stance, bolt fest that was the PvP. But this is Elana, the Squalid Queen. She gives you a massive opening at the beginning to beat her up, which I really, really approve of. She has the ability to teleport into any attack she can do, which makes her really dangerous. The big puddle you see right now is Vestald, or Vestad. This guy, real dangerous. Really, really dangerous, because he's going to put pressure on you, and she's going to hit you with flame swathes that have way too much room. Like, the range that the flame swathe covers, you will be out of the cloud, and it can still kill you, so you want to be super careful around it. But I just accidentally used a resin instead of a heal, which is high level play, because I get hit there by a staccato of magic hits. But there goes her summon. If she summons him, you're unlucky. If she summons the scorpions, you'll fare much better. The scorpions? Why did I say scorpions? Skeletons. That is an AoE attack. You need to avoid that. This boss is interesting because it's an Ashandra palette swap, essentially. I think it's incredibly lazy. And instead of summoning allies, I think they should have given her a faster tempo. She should have teleported around the room and attacked you. She should have been constantly moving. She should have teleported close, done a melee attack. The melee attack should have had enough recovery on it so that you could punish her, and she should have teleported away. And it should have been a really high-tempo, crazy, intense teleport fest. Kind of like the False Idol on steroids. But instead, it's just the standard Dark Souls 2 logic of, if we add more enemies in the room, it will somehow contribute to more difficulty. When it's just you and her, she's incredibly simple, and I have a boss analysis coming when I show you all the attacks that she can do. And the weird thing about this is she often doesn't do a lot of the attacks she has. She'll tend to just haul the flame swathe at a distance and the general dark, you know, Ghostbuster laser blobs. And then when you're up close, she might occasionally swing at you, and then she'll summon skeletons, and that's all she really does. But she does have quite a few different moves, which I find staggering that she doesn't use them so much, but I think that is a disappointing fight. A lot of people have been leaving comments telling me why they think it's really good, and I'm happy for those folk. I just think it could have been something different and something far more interesting, because this is a completely different kingdom that has a completely different crown. Why the hell didn't we see its monarch? Why didn't we see its king, you know? Why couldn't it have been some super cool Vendrick-esque dude that Vendrick went and slain once, you know, some hollified, crazy-looking Four Kings wannabe motherfucker? It could have been beautiful, but instead, it's Nashandra with smaller tits and a big ol' axe.